Welcome to another episode of Valiant Watch Boys and Girls. This one is loaded with stuff because it's coming up this year from Valiant. We're going to be talking a little bit of Shadow Man, maybe some Punk Mambo, some Savage, and of course, the brand new X-O MANOWAR #1 by Dennis Hopeless. All right, so let's get right into it. The first thing on the agenda, the trailer that Valiant dropped for their 2020 preview. Thoughts?
Oh, yeah. I mean, so much happened in that. I was not expecting that. I just woke up and was kind of laying in bed, and this trailer happens, and I'm like, get ready for this. And they take you almost as a walkthrough on Valiant 2020 and everything that they're going to be releasing. And like, I thought my jaw dropped on the first reveal, and then they just kept going. And like, I didn't know what to think. I was like cheering all the way through it. It was great.
Yeah, it was like, we talked a little bit in the Valiant voice. They had that little teaser image of the boy holding the horn. So we were like, that's probably Savage, yeah. Or maybe Turok. I don't know how, but that was pretty awesome. And when we saw the trailer, they're like, hey, guess what? Made it official. And then there were, like you said, there was so much stuff. Like I'm not even sure where to start. Okay, like Shadow Man. I mean, yeah. we kind of, that was another one that was going around the rumor mill that we kind of figured it would be, we'd be seeing something soon. But just to see that it's not just like, yeah, we're gonna be throwing it, we're gonna put something out. Like there's like, all right, we got Cullen Bunn on it. I mean. David Nakayama, I think, did one of the variant covers. Or no, he did X-O MANOWAR, but we'll get to that. That was dope too.
Yeah.
But
they had the horror covers coming out for Shadow Man. So they're like paying all these nods to horror movies, and they're really like just right up my alley with what they're doing with Shadow Man. Like, bringing real horror to it, and I think this is a corner of the Valiant universe that could be explored so much more, from my opinion. I think like Punk Mambo is a great way to go into it. And we had talked about Cullen Bunn's Punk Mambo run on this show, actually.
Yeah,
and
we did.
It was that kind of discussion had us talking about where Cullen Bunn was going to be next, and what was going to be next in the Valiant universe for Punk Mambo, and also where's Shadow Man and all this. And they kind of followed up on a lot of our talks.
Yeah, and the cool thing too is one of the things we hit on is we talked about like incursion and what it means for the dead side. So I mean, when you have Shadow Man, you have to address when something like that happens, and they've kind of changed the status quo for it. I'm sure that it won't necessarily be like the immediate focus, because it does, just from looking at the teaser trailers, they're more focused on doing like an action oriented horror, like old school. Michael Myers vibe almost, I want to say, to it. Yeah. And it looks amazing. And Bunn's, his record so far, I mean, he just knocking him out the park. So I highly doubt this is going to be anything short of phenomenal. One thing that I've been speculating on, and I think we talked about it a little bit before, they did tease that Punk Mambo will be back again. Now, I'm not going to say she'll necessarily pop up in the Shadow Man series, but if I was a betting man, I would say well, put it like this: I would hope that having Bunn on both, they would at some point have a solid Punk Mambo Shadow Man crossover of some kind. Even if she does just pop up like in Shadow Man, and then they follow up with her own mini, that'd still be dope too. But the two of them are just great characters. They're so different in the way they approach, being like these almost champions of the dark side, or dead side, Shadow Man, historically speaking, has always been a little bit more reluctant, but he's like more cutthroat with his approach. Punk Mambo, she's just more cavalier, but like just seeing the two of them, just even if they don't necessarily have a series together, seeing them both doing their thing side by side, is just going to be amazing.
And I think to that, Cullen Bunn treated Punk Mambo's relationship with their Loa in a way that made me think about how Shadow Man ended in the last run, when they say, you know, there's like a reckoning coming with how you've been treating these Loa. And I felt that as an undercurrent in Punk Mambo. And so now I'm wondering, you know, are we going to dive into that a little bit more? And is that rift maybe what kind of brings Punk Mambo and Shadow Man together? Maybe he's playing a longer game with this, and there's something happening with the treatment of Loa. So I'm really hoping to see something on that.
That would be amazing. Like I could see them doing almost like kind of like a third army or like Blackest Night kind of thing, where it's just like the dead side's like, we're tired of you humans, you know, like the source of power becomes the enemy. You know what I mean? I think that would be amazing. You know, no matter which way they go with it, though, we know that it's going to be just some rock solid books. Shadow Man in particular, I mean, it just goes to show just how in touch Valiant is with just like their audience, with their fans. Because I mean, you give Roku her own series, you know, but they did KI6, Livewire, and then Punk Mambo finally got like a solid mini, because she's always been like, you know, just kind of like an ancillary character. I mean, everything she's been in is great. Like for example, if you never read it, check out Operation Deadside. It's her and Ninjak teaming up. Is a pretty sweet mini there. But you know, they finally gave her like her shot in the spotlight. They brought back Quantum and freaking Woody. Amazingly, I'm so pumped to read number 2. We just got a hold of that, so we'll be talking about that here soon. You know, Bloodshot solid. They brought back Rye better. Like, well, I don't know. They brought back Rye ridiculously strong. Let's just put it that way. Just all around, man. And so now, logically, what next? You go Shadow Man, because he's one of the flagship characters. You know, they've said Punk Mambo will return. But speaking of returns, they took it one further with the Savage. Can we talk about Savage for a second?
That blew my mind, because the post happened and I'm immediately in chat like, okay, yo, Kenneth, what is this? Like, kind of fill me in on what's happening here. And then you give me the story on Savage, on how long we left on that cliffhanger.
Yeah, boy. Honestly, you know, Savage was one of those things where I figured it's like, you know what? They know what they're doing. It's kind of like, say like when the MCU said they were going to do like Guardians of the Galaxy, right? Like, why? But at the same time, it's like at this point they've kind of earned some trust, so you just gotta let it go. So Savage was like a situation like that for me, because I mean the original one came out in like 2013, I believe it was 13 or 14, and you know, here we are 8 years later, and like they're like, okay, we hear you, we're gonna do it. We're gonna bring out another volume of it, and you know, this is just the perfect time to do it. They're so strong all across the board that I can't imagine that they wouldn't deliver. And especially knowing that, you know, the Valiant fan base is loyal, man. Like if you jumped in 2012, there's a 99.999% chance you're still hanging in there. And even if you were like, you know, back in like the Bob Layton, Jim Shooter days, or, you know, whatever the case may be, like you're in it for the long haul once you sign up for Valiant. So they got to come strong, you know, after a wait like that. There's no and ifs or buts about it. And, you know, just with everything they've done over the last, even really just over like the last 6 months, it's like, like, yes, I get it now. Okay, you kept that one in your back pocket for a reason. Right now is just a perfect time to serve it up.
I really think the timing in Savage is almost what I'm more interested in. You know, why now after so long? Because I went back and I went through the first volume of Savage, and it's a great story. It feels like some of that hard-hitting storytelling that Valiant that kind of kicked things off in 2012. And it was right along those lines, and it was just super powerful. I loved the Jumanji Jurassic Park vibe I'm getting from it. Like, that was some real cool stuff. But that ending, like, I guess spoiler alert now, you know, you end with him coming through that portal and almost a man out of time or out of place, or a boy. into modern civilization, and then you're done. So years going by without following up on that.
I had to reread that one just recently just to kind of get that same anticipation built up, like when it first ended. And it brought to light like a lot of things that I guess, with there being so many other books that I hadn't really thought about in a long time. But with him being in the modern world, like, okay, how's he going to relate to, say, like X-O, who's from a similar situation? You know what I mean? Or I don't know, like, say, like when the Stylords get back, or like KI6, like when they see a kid like that back on the table, the Jonin, he doesn't turn a blind eye from talent, so that could be a thing. There's just so many possibilities, that they could go with, like you said, like, why now? I mean, timing wise and in the real world sense, it's perfect. It makes perfect sense. But lore wise, that connection has to be there too. They can't just throw it out there and hope it sticks. And they don't, Valiant doesn't get down like that. So, there's got to be something that we're just not privy to just yet. That's going to be like, just, just blow your wig straight back when it finally comes out.
Because like Volume 1 really struck me as an origin story. Like you're setting up Savage for being tied into the Valiant universe, but this is how Savage comes to be, and no pun intended, but it's quite a savage tale. His family being lost on the island. Like issue 1, I think, is where you get the dad coming back mauled by this Velociraptor, and I thought, is this really happening? Like it doesn't really pull any punches like that. So the name
not like
not a lot. Yeah. But what I noticed about it is it was a really quick read. The artwork, it really drives on the artwork. And I think there's not a lot of dialogue because just the nature of this character. And I think that kind of helped the first volume really read quickly and also super enjoyably. I mean, you can read that whole origin story in one sitting and just be like, where's more Savage? How do I get more of this?
Yeah. And one thing that I love about that, well, two things actually. One, you mentioned with the art being so strong in it, it does give you, it adds to the character in the sense that he's, like, he's young, but he's gonna let his fist do the talking more so than, he's not gonna be boo-hooing about like, oh, my family's gone and this, that. He's like, I didn't have time for that. Like I was, DDT and Velociraptors and stuff. Like, I don't have time for my feelings to be hurt. I got, dinosaur necklaces that from teeth I ripped out with my bare hands. And so it's like, it's going to be crazy to see how a character so appropriately names, Savage adapts to the modern landscape. It's going to be like Eric all over again, except, with him, they could go a little bit more hardcore with him having, the Shanhara armor and everything like that.
Yeah.
You can't just, go guns blazing like at a kid, no matter how wild he is, you know what I mean? So that just seeing how they deal with him is going to be nuts.
I think I love that point because they're really bringing in their flagship characters. I mean, Shadow Man, X-O, Ninjak, but the wild card is Savage. You can almost see these pieces coming together, but you don't know how Savage is going to play into this. Exactly. And I think that creates a wild card scenario with this character that I'm really here for.
Yeah, and well, it's just, one of those things, man, where patient, the turtle wins the race. You know what I'm saying? Like if you just hung in there and you were like, just like we did a poll not too long ago, and Savage was one of the, if not the winner of which book would you bring back. I think we had like Savage, Britannia, Generation Zero, and I forget what else. But so the interest is still there. It's still, people are ready for it, and it just can't be said enough just how great the timing is. But speaking of timing and just good, just spot on timing, the return of X-O MANOWAR. X-O MANOWAR. Like
it was incredible, really. I mean, how lucky are we to be able to get a chance to dive into this book a little early and kind of explore what Valiant's doing with such a flagship character like X-O MANOWAR.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, with how strong they're coming out with, like, and I hate to almost say it this way, but like the B team, with like Punk Mambo and like KI6 and like Livewire, like none of those were
Hmm.
necessarily flagship characters
Yeah.
when they debuted. Now, completely different status quo, I would say,
Yeah.
as far as their prevalence in the overall Valiant universe. But when you're coming that strong with the books that aren't like the legacies that carried you to where you are now, like you got to drop the hammer hard with X-O Manowar. And we got to keep it spoiler free because when it doesn't go on sale for like another month or two, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. So all right. So let's back up. Let's back up the clock a little bit. So the last XO, with Matt Kent on it, kind of where we left him off. The last of the armor hunters finally tracked him down to Earth. They kind of caught him slipping. He's pretty much getting stomped on. His wife just reappears. She's got her own armor. She saves his butt. And then kind of rushed a little bit because, the armor hunters do take off. They're going to go back and just cause some havoc out in the cosmos. And Ginger, of all people, was a major character in that because the armor hunters captured one of her species and was using it for, like a ship without the sentience enabled. So when Ginger got involved and they fought the armor hunters off, Basil, I think, was the name of the other one. Was Basil? It was the sea. All of them are named after places, which I love. It's so ridiculous, but I love it.
No, I love it too. It's so good.
Yeah. So when Basil got put back together, Ginger's like, I'm getting revenge, bro. Like, I'm not just gonna let that slide. So she just takes off into space, and we don't really get to see because Eric, he kind of just chills on Earth, and him and his girl are like, nah, we're done with like intergalactic civil war and all that. So we're just going to kind of maybe chill out for a little bit and see what happens. So going into this issue, there's a lot of unresolved things that we didn't get to see how they pan out. Like, what did Ginger do? Like, did she catch them before, they made planetfall, or did she catch them in space? Like, what is that going to do when X-O gets the news? Like, I can't say that part because that spoiler. But they did a really good job, I think, with the new #1 of really just, if you've never read X-O Manowar and you don't really know anything about like Arc of Dacia, you're just kind of like really testing the waters, getting your toes wet. I think they did a great job in introducing him in a little bit more lighthearted way than you would normally see, but like the action's still there. Everything that you love about Manowar is still there, but it just does a really good job of continuing, but also being like a blank slate. Like if you never touched an X-O Manowar book, you can easily just dive right into it and see what the hype is about, and just be like, okay, like I get it. Like this is going on my pull list. I might get some variant covers. I don't know. We'll see. It's like but you want to check it out after reading that first issue and really see where it's going to go. Overall, it's just I really don't think they could have done really too much of a better job reintroducing X-O Manowar, especially when, like we've talked about before, when you bring in, quote unquote outsiders into the Valiant universe, because this is like Dennis Hopeless's first thing, this is like his big debut, you know what I mean, as far as Valiant universe stuff goes. And it's just rock solid, and it gives you hope that, maybe it doesn't have to be this very close-knit, us versus them when it comes to like creators, because for the most part, when the 2012 relaunch, it was almost like with Ultimate X-Men where Ultimate Marvel, I should say, where they really only had like 4 creative teams handling pretty much everything. You get like your Robert Kirkman fill-ins and this, that every now and again. But for the most part, it's just like Bendis and Millar, and then everybody else is playing second fiddle. And when it comes to Valiant, it was kind of the same way. You had like Rob Vendetti, Matt Kent, Joshua Dicehart, those guys were pretty much just running the show. So to see names like Dan Abnett and Cullen Bunn and now Dennis Hopeless and Paul freaking Levitz, like how awesome is that? You know, like to see all these big names and like some like more recent legendy type dudes like Dennis Hopeless. He's a young gun still. Like he's proven himself as a very capable writer. But he's still, I would say, in the bigger scope of things, he's still kind of fresh in his career. Not like skill wise, but like you can see that he's got a lot of years ahead of him in just writing great stories. So no shade, don't get that twisted, internet. But just seeing it flourish like that is just amazing.
Yeah, I really couldn't agree more. This is part of what I love about Valiant so much. I feel like this is a huge stepping stone for Valiant. They know a lot of eyes are going to be on them with the new Bloodshot movie. They're reaching kind of a new level of popularity in global pop culture. So they're going to have a lot of new eyes on them. So what do we get right in that time? All of the return of their flagship characters brought to you by crazy talented creative teams. Like you said, you've got Dennis Hopeless, Tim Seeley, Dan Abnett, you got Magdalene Visaggio, just all these great creative teams that are kind of emerging with Valiant in this new era. And I think X-O Manowar #1 is just a shining example of what Valiant brings to comics as a medium. And I think it's just a great way, like you said, for people to jump into the character. But longtime fans are going to find a lot to love with it. I think, it's going to capitalize on a lot of things, and it's going to bring a fresh perspective to the character. Artwork's magnificent. I love everything about it. It's, I'm cheering for it. Like the first page, it's just got, it's got me like I can't even sit down. I'm on the edge of my seat cheering for this thing. It's just got that type of feel. And, normally I'm into the darker side of things. So I'm for a Shadow Man and that bloody ninjak sword tease. I'm all over that. But they find a way to pull this sci-fi action explosive first issue off in a way that doesn't push new readers away. If you're looking at the Bloodshot trailer and you're like, I've got to get more into Valiant, and X-O's more along your lines, you're going to be able to dive right into this and know exactly what's going on and have a great time with it.
Exactly.
Yeah, it doesn't rely on that either. It's not just a first issue for new readers. Like this is something Valiant does really well with their lore and allowing the creative teams to play with these characters.
Yeah, and that's one of the things, you actually touched on that. I wanted to, well, we were talking about Savage, but it actually fits perfectly right now, is that, they do traditionally stick to like the 4-issue arc, and they've got it down to such a science to where it's like you said, like whether you've been reading Valiant since like, Solar Man of Atom #1, or today is your first day ever touching a Valiant book, like it feels fresh and new and inviting without being like patronizing. You know what I'm saying? It's like they've worked out like the perfect algorithm to, if you're new to it, you're not lost. And if anything, it's like the vibe you get makes you, it's the rabbit hole we've talked about several times, is that once you finish X-O Manowar #1, like you're not going to just sit it down and be like, oh, well, that's cool. You're going to be like, well, dang, like what else they got going on? Like this is some super hot fire. So, so you're going to like, hop over and check out like Dr. Tomorrow or The Visitor, or even just read up on like the news with like something like Shadow Man. And another thing too that I think is really great about using a character like X-O Manowar is that he embodies a lot of themes that Bloodshot kind of doesn't. Bloodshot is like, in my opinion, represents pretty much like the best of like 90s action comics, but done in a way that's not like Armor Captain America and you know what I'm saying, like mullet, like Aquaman and stuff. Like it's like it's like the best of the 90s, but like still relevant, still fresh, not dated, and not like a so bad it's good kind of way. Where so like, you know, you pick up something like Bloodshot and you get like your, you know, like your Punisher, Wolverine type vibe, like all just meshed together so well. But then on the other hand, you know, when I was still managing a comic book shop, one of the ways that I used to describe X-O MANOWAR, just to try to like sell it to people on live sales and stuff, is I was like, all right, take all the best things about Iron Man, take all the best things about Thor, and take all the best things about Captain America, put them into one borderline bloodthirsty like Hulk rage. Like he's basically like has elements of all the best things of all these like iconic characters you know from other mediums, you know, but they're blended together in a way that it's not like you're reading like, you know, Smash or like Bloodstrike or something where you're like, this is clearly a swipe. Like he's wholly his own, but he hits those same flavors, you know, in a way that the other characters can't, because there's all right, put it for example, if you wrote a story tomorrow and you just like threw Thor in you know, an Iron Man suit, like that would be firmly in the so bad it's good category. You know what I'm saying? At best. At best. But most likely you're just gonna get some eye rolls and you're gonna be like, what 8-year-old thought it was awesome to put like a Viking in armor? But when you see X-O MANOWAR, you're like, yeah, like that's what a dude who spent his life spilling Roman blood with like the dopest weapon in the universe would be like, you know, like you can see like, you know, like way back when, like, say, you know, in 2012 when they were first introducing him, one of the things that I really loved about him is that they didn't just have him pop up and he was like immediately the Valiant Superman, you know, like Unity went after him, you know, like Ninjak and Toyo Harada and all them. They're like, nah, like, we can't let like, we know about this guy. We can't just let this guy run loose. You know what I'm saying? And it took a while to build him up to the status where he is now, to where, you know, when the stink really hits the fan, like you're looking to the skies. You weren't like X-O MANOWAR, like, bro, is he coming or what? Like it's one of you guys got him on speed dial, right? Like the Vine's here. Like we need some serious heavy hitters, and he's the go-to guy. And they've over time just built it up so organically that he's just so unique unto himself when it comes to like your bruiser, punch first, ask questions later kind of characters.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think like this is something I tell everybody all the time. I firmly believe Valiant is doing the absolute best superhero comics right now. I don't think anybody's coming close to the level of quality consistently across the board that Valiant's doing. And X-O kind of rises to the top of that as far as the superhero genre.
Exactly.
And I think, he capitalizes on all these, he said, these flavors of superheroes that we know, like Captain America and some Iron Man and Thor. There's some Superman in there and like almost a brooding sense of Batman. You know, you get some of these flavors, but I think they're on a larger picture, they're superhero elements that we've come to know through the genre and that we've come to love over the years. And they're playing with these elements in a way that's wholly original and crazy fresh for this time. And I think that they're doing it in a way that makes superheroes relevant and also ties into, you know, their bigger picture, their bigger Valiant universe that people are really about right now. You know, that connective tissue between series and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a great, you know, another thing to look at is the fact that, well, if they're bringing X-O back, and Valiant, historically speaking, does not just throw out books to throw out books. So you got Shadow Man, Ninjak is somewhere in there. You know, we don't know exactly what yet, but we know he's in the mix somewhere. And, you know, so now X-O is back. Like, what are they, the real question is, what are they building up to? Because it's something that requires this many pieces on the board. So it's got to be something wild.
Like, I'm so wrapped up in the excitement of Valiant 2020 and bringing all these flagship characters back. Yeah, they're coming into the fold for a reason, I'm sure. And you know, it's almost like your Avengers, your Justice League setup of, you have these prime, awesome, powerful characters, but you need somebody as powerful to go up against them to create consequence.
Exactly.
You know, so you're bringing everything from Savage to X-O MANOWAR and everything in between. Against what? That's a terrifying thought.
It's that's the thing, is that they never skimp on the bad guys. That's one of the, like, you really touched it. You really knocked it home. And you said that Valiant, pound for pound, is doing the best superhero comic books on the market, bar none.
Yeah.
Just bottom line. And so to see that they're going to have, Shadow Man and Punk Mambo, X-O Manowar, all of these guys back, you're like, well, now it's time to go back and start reading and see who's still got beef that's still kicking, because it's going to be something big, because you can't have something on that level and then it just, like, it's, there's not too many bad guys that they can introduce or reintroduce that would be able to hold a candle to all of those characters, that it wouldn't just automatically be like, okay, well, I can't believe I didn't see that coming, but this is going to be amazing. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's not, like, a, for lack of a better comparison, say, like, all right, like Age of Ultron, right? Like, that was a story where they kind of put, like, the whole line on the line and made it feel like it was going to be, like, this big awesome thing, and then it was just like Wolverine going back in time in loops, and you're just like, okay, like, why did Ultron need to be in this? Like, the future could have just sucked. It just sucked, because that's just how it happens 99% of the you know what I'm saying? So it's, it's going to be like the complete inverse of that, where it's like, that's why they needed X-O back. That's why they needed Punk Mambo. That's why they needed Shadow Man. Like, what, KI6, Psylords, maybe. Like, you never, because sooner or later they're going to have to come back to Earth. And I do believe that as of right now, that series is only going for 24 issues, I think.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that, because I'll have to double check. But they're nearing that number. So what's Volume 2 going to consist of? Most likely, I would assume them coming back to Earth after they deal with the shenanigans going on in deep space. So how that'll play into it is another mystery that we're just like, yeah, it's gonna be good. Like there's just, it's extremely, extremely, extremely rare that you have a publisher where you look at every corner of the universe, and you know, like the old saying goes, you're only as strong as your weakest link. You know, the chain's only as strong as the weakest link. It's like, well, you know, like, I don't even know, like, well, all right, like, then,
right, like,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
find the weakest link out of this publishing lineup, because
where are you at?
It's true. And every time we get a new release like this X-O Manowar #1, I'm like, they did it again. You know, like, it's another amazing issue that I'm gonna be hooked into, and you can talk about how amazing it is for new readers. You can talk about all the amazing potential it has for the Valiant universe in large, because it's all true. It holds this weight for every side really, really well. And everybody's going to love it, I think.
So I think that's a good note to wrap it up, because at this point, look, keep your eye on the news. If you're not subscribed to the Valiant newsletter, go do that. Also, make sure to subscribe, drop a like, share, all that good stuff. But do you have any closing thoughts before we wrap up?
I can't stop racking my brain around this excitement on Valiant 2020, and this dark twist, or this looming darkness that I now feel, in that all these awesome flagship characters are going to be faced with something terrible. And oh goodness. But X-O Manowar #1, you got to check it out. It's brilliant. Artwork's amazing. The story kicks off something super exciting and fresh. It's the definition of high quality Valiant comics.
Perfectly said, my friend. Perfectly said. So on that note, we're going to wrap it up, but keep your eyes open. We're going to have some more news for you soon. Bloodshot is only the Bloodshot movie is only a couple weeks away. So you'll be hearing from us. All right. Let's just put it like that. All right. Until next time, stay valiant.